short disclaimer, this is not directly a message from me. It's a message that I got through pocket devotions from the Pocket Testament League. I get those in my mail, and this is one that kind of struck me. So I'm using this. It's from Acts 2, 5 through 13. Now they were staying in Jerusalem, God-fearing Jews from every nation under heaven. When they heard this sound, a crowd came together in bewilderment because each one heard them speaking in his own language. Utterly amazed, they asked, "Are you not all these men who are speaking Galileans? Then how is that each of us hears them in his own native language? Parthians, Medes, Elamites, residents of Mesopotamia, Judea and Cappadocia, Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia, Egypt and the parts of Libya near Cyrene, visitors from Rome, both Jews and converts to Judaism, Cretans and Arabs, we hear them declaring the wonders of God in our own tongues. Amazed and perplexed, they asked one another, what does this mean? Somehow made fun of them and said, they have had too much wine. Thought for today from this was, to this day, whenever the Holy Spirit makes his presence known, we describe our experience with words such as utterly amazed, bewildered, perplexed, etc. When the crowd hears the disciples speaking in tongues, some thought it was gibberish, others were amazed that they were speaking in their native language. This is a story that was included with that about a church conference that was held at a local resort. The custom at the resort was that when the conference room is open, the bar is open. Even though it's not in use. During one of the sessions, the bartender was quietly cleaning glasses in the back of the room when a man stood up and began to speak in tongues, words that no one understood. The moderator thanked the man and appropriately asked him to sit down as there was no one present who could interpret his words. Following the meeting, the bartender, who was from Iraq, came forward with tears streaming down his face and asked, who was the man who had spoken for the great mysteries of God and the Messiah in his own native language? The man was saved that evening. The Holy Spirit's like that, kind of getting down to the gist of the lesson. Nonsense to some, they've had too much wine. Amazing to others. What is your response when the Holy Spirit speaks to you? Is it nonsense you ignore, or do you go with it? The disciples went with it. They gave themselves over to the power of the Spirit in faith. They didn't try to understand it first. This is the mistake we make when our dealings with the Spirit. 1 second here. We try to understand and process logically first. You'll never experience the full power of the Spirit unless you release control. Is the Lord asking you to do something right now that's a little illogical? Maybe it's to call someone you haven't talked to in a while, attend a gathering, help a stranded motorist, ask someone who looks lost if they need directions. Will it be the most ordinary of circumstances that will yield the most amazing results? Because God is certainly at work, and when you answer his call, you come to know his voice. This touched me because before coming to Showers of Blessings Church, and you've heard my story about this before, Scott, the only times I went to church was when I felt led. I was told that I needed to go to church, and not by a person. It was all up here. And when I went to those churches, even though there was the only church that I ever went back a second time, that message was for me. It didn't matter whether anyone else in the room got the message. That message that I heard those nights, those days, whichever church I went to, was for me. That, plain and simple, the Spirit led me. I have, on a few occasions, as I've witnessed, spoken to one time a homeless drug addict that was trying to quit. Tried to help him find a place to stay and get him into treatment if we could. Wasn't very successful. All the beds were taken in the treatment facilities, but I was directed for some reason to ask that person that question. Like the man at Quick Shop, have you had anything to eat today? Who asks those questions of strangers? Do you walk up to strangers and ask them, have you had something to eat today? I don't. I only do that when I'm directed to. I'm sure there are some times that the Spirit is telling me to do something, and in my stubbornness, I either don't listen or don't hear. But when I do hear, it's a powerful, powerful message. It's a time where I can testify to that person, or persons if there's more than one, share a prayer, share a meal, and help that person. That's the point to ponder today, to think about. What will you do when you hear that message? Will you think it's gibberish? Or will you ask that person, have you eaten today? I'm feeling led right now from this tonight, not earlier in the week when I read it, but tonight, that I need to go see my dad, even though he doesn't claim me as a son. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It's speaking to me in that regard. For some reason, I'm being led that I need to go see my dad. So that's what I'm going to do. And so that's really all I have tonight. It was a message that was given to me earlier this week that kind of spoke to me. And I wanted to share that. If I'd known that Rick was going to be sick and had more time, I don't know, there might have been a more personal message, I don't know. When I was praying on it this afternoon, thinking, oh wow, what will I do? I remembered this and it spoke to my mind. So even though I didn't write this, I wanted to share it. I think it was an important message. So thank you.
Well, it's also important for us to be able to come and share.
It is.
The testimony, the prayer requests, and all this stuff. It's off now, right? Okay.
I'm trying to.